At the start of your business journey, you are the everything, and it can be a really, really lonely path. You are putting the rubbish out. You are making the coffee. You are the sales director. You are the marketing manager. You are the everything to your business, the CEO, the leader, and at times it can be really, really overwhelming. You are searching for all the answers, which can be really tiresome. Equally, it can mean that you come across a solution that you didn't know you needed. You might find the help or guidance that you need right now. And I guess that's why I created my conversations with my go-to experts. So I can create those light bulb moments, those ahas that help you move forward. My name is Lindsay Burden, and I'm an intuitive business coach, and I work with ambitious women in business, helping them to create financial abundance and a lifestyle that is rich in time. But enough about me. I can't tell you how excited I am today because I have the incredible Leanne Mathews with me today. Leanne, hello, how are you feeling?
I'm really well. How are you, Lindsay?
I'm good, thank you. Now, for those who have not met you before, Leanne is the owner of Purple Frogs Virtual Assistants, which always makes me smile. And you began helping business owners stay on top of their admin way back starting in March 2018. And you can help with anything from content writing to proofreading or email management to social media support. And I would say a whole lot more. And I can say this with great authority because you are my VA, my go-to woman, the woman that I cannot live without, and keeps my children entertained on WhatsApp. Other platforms are available.
All
And just
partnership.
all-round incredible person. So I'm
Thank you.
super grateful to have you with me today. And thank you.
I'm really excited as well.
Why purple frogs?
Okay, I actually don't know because I took over the business from somebody else. And she was the one that named it Purple Frogs. And I'd never really got out of her why, but I liked the name so much. I love frogs. I love all animals, but I do particularly love frogs. And I quite like the colour purple. So it just seemed I might as well just keep it.
It
So
was a
yeah.
win-win.
Yeah, I'd like to give you a really interesting story, but I don't have one.
I
I think,
probably did know that, but I thought it was worth a mention. But I know how much you love frogs, so I can see why you decided to stick with it.
yeah, yeah, and people remember it, and it always
Yeah.
makes people smile. So when I go to like networking meetings and things, and I say I'm Leanne from Purple Frogs, I always see a few kind of little sniggers, and I like that because it's I like making people smile.
There's a tip right there. Don't worry about naming your business. It doesn't really matter. You can use anything, and
Yeah,
if it feels good, it's probably going to work.
exactly.
But that's not why we're talking today. So I always ask my guests to give me a title for their interview. And your title was How Outsourcing Can Help You Feel Less Lonely in Business. And at the beginning there, I was saying that it can be a really lonely journey, and
Mhm.
it can be really challenging when we have to find all the answers and look for all the solutions and be the everything. But for anyone that's watching and hasn't heard the term VA or virtual assistant before, what does that mean exactly, Leanne?
Um, this is what I always struggle with this when I'm networking and you have to give your 1 minute presentation because you do sometimes when I say I'm a virtual assistant, I sometimes see people's eyes glaze over, and I think it's a term that they hear so often,
Yeah.
but actually they don't really know what it means. Um, and so basically, the way I describe what I do is I take the tasks that you don't want to do or that you don't enjoy or that just don't bring you money because the
Yeah.
way I see it, a business owner generally sets up their business because they're passionate about something and they want to offer a very particular service. They don't want to be bogged down with admin because that takes away from the joy of running a business, but it also takes them away from working with their clients.
Mm.
So unless they're super organized with their time, quite often the admin stuff gets sort of either lower down on the priority
Yeah.
list, or they can become so overwhelmed that they end up doing too much admin and like jumping on every platform, signing up to every newsletter because they think they should be. but actually not focusing on the real reason that they set the business up in the first place. But when, in terms of what does a virtual assistant do, what is admin? I mean, admin is such a massive kind of, it's a big umbrella of tasks. So I tend to start by saying what I don't do. I tend to avoid numbers. I'm not a bookkeeper, I'm not an accountant, don't enjoy numbers. I'll do data entry if it's simple. But yeah, I'm not great with numbers, but what I do love is words. So I do a lot of content writing. One of my favorite jobs is email management and like customer care and that sort of things. And even if it's just answering frequently asked questions, to take that away from the business owner, so they're not constantly answering the same questions over and over. But every VA I speak to, they have different areas that they like to work in. So I think what's really important if you're thinking about getting somebody to take on your admin is to make a list of all the tasks that you don't enjoy doing or that you don't have time to do, and then find the VA that does want to do those, because not all of us want to be doing the same tasks, if that makes sense.
There's one question that's just come up for me then. Do you think it works if you have more than one VA? So if you have one that does this specific task and another, does it get confusing or not?
No, well, my very first client actually had 3 VAs for different things, and it worked so well. And we became quite good friends, even though we were in completely different parts of the country. And it was actually, I found that quite reassuring, because if I couldn't get my head around something, I could call up one of the other VAs and just say, have you got any experience with this? How do I go about doing it? So actually, if it's done right, and I think it's important that all the VAs are aware of each other for it to be efficient. But yeah, if it's done right, I actually think having more than one VA. And the thing is, you know, like I know yourself, Lindsay, you have different people supporting you in different ways. So you've got a team of tech people, for example, that you were speaking to last week. Technically they're VAs, they're virtual assistants, they're assisting you in an admin task that you don't want to do, or for whatever reason you can't do. So I think you're a prime example of how well it does work.
And I think there's something as well around finding the right VA. And you know, the whole title, or the title you came up with, was how outsourcing can help you feel less lonely. And for me, when you find the right VA, they are way more than the task that they do. I mean, how many times have I said, can we just have half an hour? I just need to bounce all of this around. Or, you know, where am I at? I'm a bit confused. Or where are we at? And it's just having that person that knows your business really well.
I think that's the important thing. And I think, they need to get to a point where they know your business really well. And as an extension of that, they need to know you really well, because certainly, like for an example, what I do, if I'm content writing, whether that's for a newsletter, a blog, social media, whatever it is, I need to be able to become your voice, if that makes sense. So I can't write as Leanne Mathews. I need to write as Lindsay Burden. So and I need to know your mannerisms, your turn of phrase. Is that the right? Yeah, turn of phrase. Because people communicate in different ways. So if I'm just communicating as myself, it's not going to look authentic to the client. The audience, will see straight through that. So it's really important. And the only way for me, and I'm obviously not speaking for every VA, but the only way I can do that is by getting to know you as a person outside of your business as well as inside of your business. So yeah, I mean, for example, I can talk to a certain extent. I can talk about your kids in your tone of voice if it's, you know, relevant or appropriate to do so.
She's not joking.
And I think that's when you know you've got a really good relationship with your virtual assistant, is when they can almost put themselves in your shoes and speak to an audience as you, and the audience is not aware that there's somebody else doing that.
It's one of the things you actually wrote here. So I always ask, what are the 3 shares or the key points? And you did write here, having a friendship with those you outsource to can really create better results. And I think that kind of, some people may go, oh, you can't be too friendly. And it goes back to the old corporate world where you can't really be friends with your managers and everything. But this is so different. And it is about having a very personal relationship beyond the business.
Yeah, definitely. And that's really important to me because it means I enjoy my work more. I don't really enjoy just having just a professional, almost stuffy relationship with somebody. I want to know that, I could have a coffee with them and a bit of a giggle. And that's, if I think about all of my clients, the ones that I'm able to work to the best of my ability for are the ones that I actually have a friendship with. And even if that's, sending me a dog picture every so often on WhatsApp, most of my clients do that. I pick my clients very well. Or, sometimes it's as simple as, a client messaging me that they're not having the best day, and they need a bit of extra support. And that takes trust to be able to do that in itself, I think. So yeah, the friendship, even just a light friendship is actually really important to me. And when I think about the clients that either haven't worked out or that I've chosen to let go, that trust, that friendship and that trust has never really been able to, I don't know. Yeah.
It's interesting that you use that word trust, because as business owners, particularly when you're first starting out, it's your baby and you want to hold on to it. And it's really hard for somebody to let go of areas or elements of their business. So that trust and that friendship really does feel key to me.
Yeah.
For you to be able to hand over elements of the business.
Definitely. And when you think about when we're networking, it's kind of drummed into us, this whole know, like, trust thing, isn't it? That's almost become a bit of a cliche, but it's so true. And if in order to get referrals or get clients, there has to be this know, like, trust, because nobody's going to sign somebody up that they aren't kind of comfortable with.
Yeah.
So that should continue, as far as I'm concerned, into the working relationship. But it's really important that it goes both ways as well, because I need to know that I can trust the client for a whole host of reasons, payment being one of them. If you can't trust your client to respect your time and respect your energy, then they're not likely to pay you. You're going to have problems in that department. So, but likewise, I also need to trust that when I send you some work that I've done for you, that anything that you need to be critical about is going to be done respectfully and kindly, not because we're not always going to get it right. Sometimes there's going to be amendments, but we need to feel confident passing on work that we've created for somebody, knowing that whatever the feedback is, it's going to be done, respectfully and kindly, I think.
It's really interesting, because I think when you think about friendships, it can be quite challenging to say that you're not happy with something. But when that business relationship is based around a friendship, I think it feels easier.
I think so. And I would always rather my clients came to me and said, that's not quite right, rather than bottled it up, and over time that creates tension or resentment. And I'll always say to a client, if you're not happy with something, tell me and I'll change it. It's as easy as that. But sometimes, like you said, it can feel so, if you don't know how somebody's going to react, it can feel a bit scary telling them you're not happy. And that's when I've seen situations before where somebody has hired someone. In this particular case, it was a cleaner. Someone hired a cleaner, and they had the cleaner for about 2 months. And every time the cleaner left, they'd end up going around and re-cleaning. And in the end, she said, I don't think this is working out. Like, why am I cleaning after my cleaner's been? And I think that's the same with admin work. If you're finding that you're too scared to say, actually, this is not quite right, you're then redoing what they've already done or spending time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really important that you feel comfortable in that sense.
And that goes back, because you use that phrase, it's a two-way street, and we both,
Yeah.
the VA and the business owner, both need to take full responsibility for that relationship.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you know, if you're letting your VA do work inconsistently and badly, not necessarily badly, but not as you would do it, and there is a real, you know, difference there, and you haven't told them, they're never
Yeah,
going to learn, and they're never going to be able to improve.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I always say that, you know, I'm a massive advocate for outsourcing, and outsourcing before you are ready, because you
Yes.
don't want it to get to the point where it just feels too hard. Because I think once you get to that point where it just feels too hard, you almost go, well, I haven't got the time to find a VA, I haven't got the time to outsource.
Yeah.
Instead, so always think about the tasks that could be outsourced. And you mentioned that earlier about the tasks you don't like doing, that don't bring you joy.
Yeah.
And I always add, I would like to add to that, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
No,
So
doesn't mean you're yeah, and I think that just because you can doesn't mean you're going to do the best job of it as well. And that's, I think, where some people hold on to things too tightly, not realizing that actually somebody else could do that particular thing better than you, which is going to open up a whole other area of opportunities, whether that's time or leads or whatever. So yeah, I think that is a really important thing. I remember when you first got in touch with me and you called me up completely out of the blue. I'd only met you once at a networking meeting, and you called me up completely out of the blue, and I saw your name pop up on my phone. I was like, why is she calling me? We've not had any communication since I was at that meeting. And I remember you said to me, I don't know how I'm going to use you, but I know I need you. Yeah. And I think that goes back to what you were just saying. You weren't quite ready to take on a VA, but you knew that actually it would, if you could take that leap, it would open up so much more for you.
And without doing that, I wouldn't have been able to grow my business, because I was too busy doing everything. And I could already see how that wasn't going to get any easier. And I'm glad you've mentioned that, because I always say to people that after that first meeting, I still didn't really know how or what, and if I was really honest, how I was going to pay you. But I knew that I had to make that leap. And I always say to everyone, you know, it made sure that income came in. By taking you on, it allowed me to do what I needed to do. It allowed me to do the work and to bring the income in, and I never had to worry about that. Except when I pay late because I've forgotten.
Yeah, but generally I've forgotten at that point as well, so I shouldn't worry too much about that.
It's usually the time when we've both forgotten.
Yeah, both. And that's fine, and I don't mind that, because, you know, the odd late payment from somebody that I trust isn't, I know it's not malicious, I know it's not, and I think that's where what I was saying earlier about having that trust and that friendship there. If something doesn't quite work, whatever that is, you know it's not done out of malice, and you know it's not done because that person doesn't respect you and your time. So yeah, there's always a reasonable explanation. So I think that's what I was trying to get at earlier. But if you think about the work, how we've been working together, I think we started in June 2019 together. I remember that because I had to go on holiday first, so I said I couldn't do anything for you until I get back from holiday. And but the jobs that I've done for you over the years have changed and evolved. So it's not like once you take somebody on, that's it, they can only do these tasks. The whole point of bringing somebody else into your business is that role also evolves as you and your business evolve.
Yeah, you've hit on a really good point there. I wouldn't want anyone to get fixated about what their VA can do.
No.
And actually, although I would tell everyone that you are quite special. I mean, you came into my business and you're so brilliant at going, but have you thought about this? And why aren't we doing that? And you're really good at sort of going with the flow. And there are times, and I'm struggling whether I should say this or not. There are times when I go, I really need to get this done. And how are we going to do this? And now I've had this crazy idea and we need to implement it now. And you're good at managing your time and managing expectation, but you're also great again. Yeah, okay, I can see what we're doing. but I'm not going to be able to do, I can't jump on it right now. And communication is absolutely key, whether you're outsourcing to a virtual assistant or to anyone who is doing a job for you virtually. Communication is key. And we must remember as well as business owners that because we have someone in our business that is working virtually, they're not sat there waiting for us to pick up the phone and say, can you do this for me, please?
No, exactly.
And I love that about you, because I might message you on WhatsApp and go, I've just sent you something, whenever you got, and you always come back and say, I've allocated time tomorrow, I'll be able to do it. And it's always perfect and everything always works out. And I think that's that communication. I think, Leanne, that goes back to trust and to friendship and everything else. And I wouldn't want anyone to go into a relationship with anyone that they were outsourcing without recognizing that it takes time. Just like employing somebody, it takes time to build that relationship, that friendship, if that's important to you, and building that trust. It does take time, and it doesn't happen overnight.
I mean, sometimes it does, but no, generally it doesn't. I think sometimes you do just gel with somebody, and that's amazing when that happens, because straight away that that's going to be a really lovely relationship. And those are my favorites. And I've been so lucky with a lot of my clients that gelling process has been quite quick. I think that's because I tend to look for certain traits in my clients as well. So when I'm talking to a potential new client, or even when I'm networking, I'm more looking for personality traits and people that I can get along with. Helps if they've got a dog.
Which I haven't. I failed.
I know. But generally speaking, if I find some common ground with somebody, that's what I'm looking for. But no, a lot of the time, especially when it comes to new business owners or people that have never outsourced before, there is going to be that period of anxiety. And I think sometimes it is a really slow process, because the business owner themselves, who's chosen to take that leap to outsource but is still a little bit scared, they need the time to be able to trust. And if you do the same job really, really well for 6 months, at that point they might think, oh, maybe I could give something else to you. So I think it's my role as a VA to get to know each of my clients' needs and their own individuality, because some people jump straight in and go, right, I want you to do all of this, have it all, I don't want anything to do with it. Whereas other clients will start off, like I said, with one half-an-hour job a month.
You mentioned networking, and I want to spin back to that, because I also feel that when we have incredible people that work with us and support us in our businesses, you become our marketing tools. And you're out there, and I've certainly had clients come from you because you've got a client who've gone, you really need to talk to Lindsay. And there's something really lovely and special about that, when we're advocates for one another.
And again, and that comes back to really knowing someone, because I can think of one person in particular that came to me a few years ago now, I think it was, and she needed business support, and I knew that you were the only business coach that I would recommend for that person, just based on her personality alone. And I just knew that your personality and her personality would gel so well. But that, you have to know somebody to be able to do that. So you can't just, this person's a business coach, send them to them. I think because what you do is very similar in some ways to what I do. It's you have to be more than just a colleague or just somebody that helps them in their business, don't you? You have to, sometimes you become a bit of a counselor, sometimes you become, the friend that they just need somebody to bounce ideas off, like you said. So I think that's really important, that you know your client enough that you can refer them to other people in confidence.
One question that's sort of coming to mind as we're talking, if somebody is watching this right now and goes, I need a VA, I need somebody to help me in my business, I guess the question is, how do they know if they're a good fit? How do they know that this VA or this virtual assistant or this person will be able to help them in this area of the business? How do we know that? And personally, I think it is a bit of a, well, I know how I came to you, and I know my reasons behind it, and it was still, you know, very much a leap of faith, but it was a business decision. But there are so many VAs now,
Yeah.
Leanne. It feels like a real challenge to find the right one, because there are so many, and where do you even start? And particularly if you're networking, you will meet many VAs.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah,
do you do
exactly.
that?
And you know, I've been in network meetings where there's been 4 VAs, so me and 3 other people. But actually, if you listen to them, they've all got slightly different messages. And I think that's the first thing to go on is what is their message when they stand up in a network meeting and they give their 1 minute? What is their message, and which of those messages do you feel most aligned with yourself? So I think there's 2 areas to look at. Firstly, do you like that person? Do you feel, when you're talking to that person, do you feel comfortable with them? Do you get a sense that they're trustworthy, or that you can trust them specifically? And then there's the business side, the logistical side. So that's why I always say to people when they come to me and they say, I know I need a VA, but I don't really know how I would use one. I always say, go away and write a list of all the jobs that you don't want to do, and all the jobs that you actually do enjoy doing, because some people do choose to keep certain admin jobs just because they quite like it.
Yeah.
So once you know what you don't want to do, then you can go to the VAs that you've met, if you've decided that you already like them, and you can sort of give them that list and say, this is what I don't want. Is there anything on this list that you don't know? And I will always be honest with somebody. If they came to me with a list of stuff that actually I don't want to do, or I don't enjoy doing, or I'm just not that good at, I will say, I'm not the VA for you. And that's really important. That level of honesty is really important from, you know, from my point of view, because I don't want to be lumbered with a bunch of jobs that I don't want to be doing, because that would make my work less satisfying. So I agree, it is hard when there's so many, but I almost think the fact that there are so many VAs, taking the time to really listen to them, that's how you find the right one. You've got so much choice. And whilst that can be overwhelming, it's also a bit of a blessing, because you can find the right person rather than just settling because that's the only one. You can find the right person to fit your individual needs, basically.
That's so very true. And I love what you're saying there. It's so important to work out initially what it is you think you want someone to do, or that they could do, and then finding, you know, the person that you connect with. I think the other thing I would add to that, Leanne, is go with an open mind. So if somebody has got their list, go with an open mind, because it's quite likely that the VA will be able to say, well, we could do this, this, and this. And actually, there is a quicker way of doing this. I think it's going with an open mind as well. That the VA is such value to your business if you take time to listen. I think that can often be missed when we outsource, is that there is a huge amount of knowledge and expertise in that person, because of the, you know, if you just take VAs, because of the plethora of business owners that you're working with, and the different sort of areas that you're working in, and the knowledge that you're gaining all the time. So there is huge value right there. Never underestimate the value of your VA, I would add.
No, and also I think, I mean, certainly, again, I can't speak for every VA, but what I like to do is make sure that I've got enough VA contacts. So if somebody came to me and they decided to work with me, but there was a couple of jobs that maybe weren't in my area of expertise, I've got so many contacts that I can go to. And I'd always be honest with my client and say, look, I'm going to actually outsource this outsourcing myself, because I think so-and-so would do a better job than me. So your VA will have a lot of contacts for people that if they can't do something, they know someone who can, basically. So I think you're right. It's about not holding on too tight, not having like rigid expectations about how something can be done, and being willing to let go to a certain extent.
That's so true, because I think we're business owners, we're like this, and we think we have all the answers, and no one else could possibly tell us what to do. But there is such knowledge and skill out there that if we just relax just a little bit and allow that person in. One of the questions I like to ask people is, if you had to start your business again, what one thing would you do differently? And you've written here, I wouldn't be so hung up on what everyone else is doing, which I thought is just such a powerful message to get out.
I was so when I started, I went to a lot of network meetings when I started. So I was in a short amount of time, I was meeting a lot of already established business people. And I did have this feeling of insecurity that I wasn't the same as them. And so initially, I think, for the first year, I was almost copying somebody else's strategy. And when that came to marketing, with I thought I should be sending out a newsletter every month, or I should be on social media every day at least. And over time, I've come to realize that that's not authentic. That's not who I am. I communicate with my audience in different ways, and that's absolutely fine. It's worked for me this long, and I'm not saying that I'm closed off to ideas that other business owners have. But I'm only going to approach those things if it feels in alignment with myself, rather than doing it because everybody's doing it and you don't want to be the one that gets left behind. I think what a prime example is this new Threads app. I don't know if you've explored Threads. No, well,
I haven't looked.
No, I mean, I've set it up for a couple of clients have asked me to set it up, and they've got a good idea of how they're going to use it. But for myself, I am choosing not to look at it at the moment. That's not to say I won't eventually have a look at it and decide to use it, but at this moment in time, I'm not just going to jump on a bandwagon. So yeah, I think that's the one thing that I got overwhelmed with when I first started my business. I've only just embraced TikTok, and by embracing TikTok, I mean I look at videos. I don't do anything with it. I just look at
you
videos.
Should so be on TikTok with your dog.
I do actually want to film Obi doing something, because I think that would be quite funny. But yeah, it's taken me this long to jump on the TikTok bandwagon. So I think taking your time to decide whether something is right for you and something feels right for you. And remember, if it doesn't feel right for you, but you think you do need to do it, outsource it.
Yeah. A great link back to outsourcing. Yeah. But you're so right. I mean, I talk to my clients, it's about staying in your lane, doing what's right for you. Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't necessarily mean it's right for you. And social media is a prime example where particularly I see clients get very overwhelmed because they're trying to be everywhere. If you're everywhere, you're not anywhere very, very well.
Not at all.
So yes, no, I've not looked yet. I may ask my VA to sort that out and have a look for me and just tell me whether it's worth my time and energy.
Yeah.
I have to say, for me, taking that leap of faith and bringing you into my business, it enabled my business to grow without any doubt in my mind. It was that shift. It was that key that I needed to unlock that movement, that momentum. And, for me, I feel incredibly blessed that I have you in my business and in my life. My kids feel very blessed. I don't have a dog, but I get sent dog pictures. So that, it's a win-win all round as far as I'm concerned.
And we're still not ruling the dog out, so.
No, we're still working on it. We'll keep working on it. We'll get there eventually. But for me, I think that is the evidence, if anyone needed it, of the potentiality of working with a VA. And while you may not always result in the friendship that I feel I'm blessed to have with you, that goes way beyond the business, that having that relationship that is more than a transactional relationship will enable you to build the trust that you need when outsourcing, and to really build that working relationship that you need to get the very, very most out of that relationship. Not to use that word again, but I will, because I can't. I had another one in my head, but it wasn't coming forward.
No, I completely agree. And I think it's, like you said at the beginning, running a business can be lonely. And I think a lot of businesses don't work out because of that loneliness. Whereas if you've got somebody that you can, even just somebody that you can ping a WhatsApp every day to check something or just check in with, it gives you that somebody else. It's almost like having a virtual person sat at the desk next to you, but it also gives you a whole different perspective on your business, because like you said earlier, sometimes you become you're in this bubble, your business bubble. You can't see any other perspective other than your own, and that means that you're actually not necessarily thinking about your audience.
That's where the expansion comes from, because when we're just sat at our desk doing all the things we shouldn't be doing, you should be outsourcing. You can't, you're not stopping. I always describe it as you blink it, and then you just need to stop and come up for air and look, where is it you want to go, and what is the support and help that you need in your business to enable that to happen. And as I said earlier, I really feel that outsourcing before you need it is absolutely key, because you will have built that relationship that you absolutely will benefit most from by the time you do need them. And you will probably get to that point much quicker.
Yeah, and another thing to mention is, I mentioned about starting small with your VA. So if you're really, you are going to need that support, but you really don't know how to get the ball rolling, start small. Just pick just one job, and let them do that for a couple of months. And you can always, certainly with me, you could always give me your budget, and this is what I've got to spend in the month. I can't go over this at this point. Because then your VA can say, well, this is what we can do in that time. This is what we can do. And you'll probably find that it's actually more than you were expected, because quite often a VA or somebody you're outsourcing to that specializes in a particular area can do things a bit quicker than you can, because that's what they do. That's their area of expertise. I quite often get people, when I send them my invoices for certain things, that come back and say, is that it? That would have taken me 4 hours or something. And I'm like, well, yeah, it would have taken you 4 hours because it's not what you enjoy, and it's not your area of expertise. But actually, it only took me an hour because I know what I'm doing, basically. So you'll probably find that it feels a lot bigger in your head, certainly from a financial and time point of view, than it actually turns out to be.
You've
raised have that conversation.
You've raised a really interesting question there about investment, because obviously when we invest in support for our businesses, it can feel really, really scary. And for some, it's them going, oh, if I'm going to pay them, will I be able to pay my, it feels constricting instead of the opposite, which is what we want people to feel. But you've raised that really interesting point. Think about what it is you want to do, and then get really clear on what your budget is, because by going to a VA who does this stuff day in, day out, they'll be able to say, well, actually, if you do this and this, you could add that on later. Or they might even say to you, why are you doing this? If you're doing this and we do it really well, you don't need to be doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where that sounding board comes in, doesn't it? And having somebody else's perspective look in.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Leanne, not that I want to share you with anyone, because why would I? And whether they have a dog or not, I know it's a requirement really that your clients have dogs. I am the exception. But if somebody needs to find you, where is the best place? I will share all of the links below in the description, but where is the best place for somebody to find you if they want to come and talk to you specifically?
The best thing to do is email me. I much prefer people just to reach out. I don't have a heavy presence on social media for reasons I've just spoken about. I do drop in and out, but I don't have a heavy presence on social media. I'm doing other people's social media so much that actually you're not going to find me on social media all that much, and it's certainly not going to be a massive idea of how I can help you. So the best thing to do is reach out by email, and I'd love to have a Zoom call with you, and you can ask me any questions that you want. And I'm always happy, even if you decide not to come to me, I'm really happy to recommend people that I know that are also VAs that may be better suited to you. And I will always go into a Zoom call or a phone call with that in mind, like, am I the best person for you? And if I'm not, who is? So even if you just want to talk to somebody about the potential of taking on a VA, then please do reach out, because I'm more than happy to have that conversation.
That's the key, isn't it? It's starting the conversation. It's
Yeah.
starting the thought process.
Mhm.
And that's what's important. What's your email address, Leanne?
It's info@purplefrogs.co.uk.
I was going to offer to give that to you, and then I thought it's all everything. I just type a few letters and up comes
Yeah.
an email. So I'm not sure whether I would have got that right, and that would have been really embarrassing.
.co.uk or .com? It's definitely .co.uk.
Brilliant. So anyone, and I know how generous you are with your time when someone is just needing that, perhaps that first step.
Yeah.
But also, without doubt, I highly recommend Leanne, but I don't like sharing with her anybody. Although you have some clients, we have some shared clients, and I don't mind sharing.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
we do.
we don't mind sharing those ones. They're absolutely fine. But I think the key message really is to outsource before you need to.
Yeah.
Do a bit of due diligence, do some research, get some recommendations,
Yeah.
start that list of things that you don't like doing, are doing and shouldn't be doing. And just have that first conversation. It just feels like that's how you get the ball rolling. And don't be scared.
Yeah, I think that's it. Go in with an open mind. You don't have to make any decisions straight away. There's not going to be one person that says, if you set up a Zoom call with me, you have to take me on. That's not how these things work. And I'd also say, as a sort of parting note, is be prepared to do a 3-month trial, and that should work both ways. So your the VA might say, well, I do it initial 3 months and then we'll have a meeting to make sure it's working. But if they don't, ask for that, because everybody wants to enjoy their work. So nobody wants to carry on working for somebody that it's not quite gelling with. So there's no harm if your VA doesn't initiate that. There's no harm in saying, look, I'd like to start with a 3-month trial or a 6-month trial, whatever you decide. Because that you'll probably find that knowledge alone, that you've got that get out, will give you the confidence you need to move forward.
Well, I was just thinking about, just some of the clients that I know that you have, and myself included in that. It feels to me as if that it is such a special relationship because you grow together. You're part of that. And I know you get as excited as I do when stuff happens, and you love a crazy idea, and you've got other clients that ring you with equally crazy ideas. Yes. But that's what makes the relationship work, isn't it? That's what makes it so much fun for both sides. And that's when a VA or anyone you are outsourcing to, that's when it feels like you've created a team. So it might not be a team in your office, whether, or in your kitchen, if you're working from your kitchen table right now, but it does feel like you're building a team around you, and that's incredible.
Yeah, I think that's hit the nail on the head, is, having a team to help you with your business, to help you grow your business, and to care about your business. I think that in itself helps you to feel less lonely and less overwhelmed. If somebody else cares about your business, I think that's a really special thing.
And you've beautifully brought us back to the title, which was How Outsourcing Can Help You Feel Less Lonely in Business. Leanne, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Don't go anywhere, because obviously I need some chatting, and I need, to know what's going on with the dogs and stuff.
Okay.
But thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed myself so much.